Yeah, my name's Jared. I'm from AMAonline, and I facilitated the Phase 5 discussion that we had on Saturday. This video will hopefully not be too long, but I'll try to give a little bit of summary about what we covered and what people spoke about. The idea was it wouldn't record the meeting so that people could be honest and have those discussions, and I would just give a summary at the end. So I opened the meeting by running through a couple of slides, which I've got up here in front of me. Firstly, just some key information about how to get to the places where the curriculums are. So there's a Tahurangi page where you get the 5 English versions of that, and then there's a Pangaro document which you find in a slightly different way, and also a quick link so that you can get to the consultation page so you can give your feedback if you want to. There's a PDF I think on there, so you can see what the questionnaire would have before you give your feedback. Otherwise, just rip into it, I guess. And alongside that, we're still got to think about what Phase 4 is saying and how that transitions into Phase 5. So there was a quick link for that one too. I quickly just explained to people what this was going to look like. That this is a draft curriculum right now, and it's not the assessment. And we'll get back to that a little bit in a while. And that this current Year 9 cohort that we've got, they're going to be doing this curriculum as Year 11s in 2028, or a improved version of it if feedback gets acted upon. And that just rolls out from there. So those same Year 9s will sit the Year 12 curriculums in 2029 and Year 13 there in 2030. And yeah, assessment stuff, we'll get more information about that as it goes. Because there are quite a lot of documents and just sort of piecing them together. So the dark ones there, they're not draft, they are in use curriculums all the way up to Phase 4, up to the end of Year 10. But these are our draft documents here. So there are 6 of them. There is a Year 11 Maths and Stats curriculum document. There is a Pangaro one. It is similar but not identical. There are some differences, and it's if you're in that area, you probably do want to take note about what the difference between those two curriculums is. And then there's a Year 12 to 13 Maths and Pangaro curriculum. So that covers those 2 years. And then there is I'm calling it modelling here, but a Year 12 to 13 Maths and Stats modelling course, which goes across those 2 years. And then there's a couple of what I'm calling specialist Year 13 curriculums for the stats and data science, and another one for further maths. And I've kind of put that in there because it's, from what I've read, it's an additional course that you should be studying alongside some other maths or stats course. I'm not teaching Year 11 at my school, so I've done a little bit of work in thinking about what the Year 12 courses actually look like based on this draft. So I will talk through that quickly too. So in terms of the standards, the short number standards that we've used in the past, I've tried to figure out what these things would look like. So in Year 12, the maths course looks like it would have coordinate geometry. It would have part of the graphing standard in it. It's got trig in it. It's got both sort of mathsy externals, the algebra external and the calculus external, the content of that at least. We don't know about assessment. It's got some of the distribution part of the probability external, and it's got simultaneous equations. So those are current things that we're teaching at Year 12 already. And these are the things that have come down a level. So we've got parts of the complex number standard, parts of the Year 13 differentiation standard and the integration standards, and parts of the distribution standard in that as well. And on top of that, things that we probably haven't taught at either Year 12 or Year 13 before, some stuff around sets, vectors, and permutations, combinations. So that just gives me, I think it helps me sort of understand what that course would look like, and therefore what I should feedback on. The alternative pathway for Year 12 is the modelling course, Stats and Maths Modelling, which again has coordinate geometry. It's got more graphs in it than the course above that I was talking about. It's got a little bit of the the calculus external. It's got the inference standard. It's got the probability external. It's got simulations. It's got simultaneous equations. On top of that, we're bringing down content that we would have from Year 13 bivariate standard. And there is new stuff around data ethics in that course, around numerical methods, which, if you've been around long enough, that's not necessarily new, but definitely new to year 12. If we take those courses into what the year 13 versions are going to start looking like, so this maths course is pretty much like what we would call calculus now. It's got the trig standard, it's got the three externals, complex numbers, differentiation and integration. And the newer stuff in there is, my feeling is there's a lot more formality in the way that functions are treated. The vector stuff pushes on to things like dot products, and combinations, permutations gets continued with more complexity. And then there's hypothesis testing, a tiny little bit of stats in that course as well. Whereas the year 13 stats and modeling, we've got linear programming, we've got the modeling side of the trig standard, we've got some of the calculus, some of the integration that was normally taught at year 13. We've got our time series standard, and we've got experiment design. And again, data ethics continues with more stuff in year 13. There is, again, been around long enough, you might recognize the modeling of curves through logs and things like that we used to do probably 10 to 15 years ago. When the year 13 specialist curriculums that we're looking at, the data science, so time series and bivariates, but really just around the ability to use those things to predict and understand the uncertainty of those predictions. That's the way I read that, rather than sort of full investigations. The inference standard, bootstrapping, and all three externals. A little bit of that's cut off, sorry. On top of that, sourcing data and data sovereignty, and machine learning, algorithm-y types of stuff. Personally, I find this quite an interesting course, but also hard to understand how long it would take to teach, and because a lot of these things are quite new to me. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feedback on that course. In the further maths, it's got some graph theory stuff, so a little bit like 2.5 networks. It's got the critical path stuff as well. And then everything else, I suppose, is newish. Yeah, wouldn't be part of any of our curriculums before. So there's stuff around logic, proof, number theory stuff, and then differential equations, first and second order is in that course. Okay, so after that point, I asked people to go into to breakout groups and start talking about what their thoughts on these curriculums were. So people did that. They moved into their breakouts. We had sort of 5 or so people in breakouts, and those are the questions that I asked people to talk about. I popped my head into the breakouts, and from memory, this is what I put down in the screen section. There was, despite us trying to talk about curriculum, assessment was front of mind to people. Like, we don't know about what this new assessment regime is really going to be like. And so an example of that was foundational studies is based on year 11 course. That could be a real issue. So what I've kind of been saying is, let's do our best to get the curriculum right. And then at least if we've got the curriculum right, then the assessment can't be too far off being right either. There were a couple of people from small schools, and this is a really important concern, having so many documents. How are they going to create the courses for their students using all these different curriculum? Many people felt that retaining students into year 12 with these courses the way they are drafted at the moment is going to be really hard, both from them getting through year 11 compulsory course and whether they're still going to be engaged and feeling like they're good enough at this subject to want to continue into year 12, and then what the year 12 content looks like it's going to be as well. Are we going to be able to keep kids in maths? Many were worried about this current year 9 and having to step up to the mark that these curriculums are showing. In the future, it may not be quite as bad, where they have had the curriculum embedded for longer and it hasn't changed on them over many years. So yeah, a little bit of worry about this guinea pig group coming through. When we came back to the full group discussion, I just noted down those things in the blue box there. So there was a question about, are these the only options, or is there some kind of vocational path, trades kind of path for maths as well? I don't know the answer to that, but it's a question. There was wondering about how AMO was going to support this. Is it EP again, or is there going to be workbooks, textbooks kind of rolled out for this kind of stuff? In general, I didn't feel like there was a lot of excitement about anything new in these curriculum documents. It was mostly worry about how much, I suppose. And yeah, just the realization that so many of the things that were at level 3 come down to level 2, and level 2 down to level 1. I'm using NCA terms, sorry. Then we moved off into a second round of breakouts, and that was supposed to be focused on people getting into a bit more detail about what was in the year 11, 12, and 13 different curriculums. In the end, no one went to the year 13 one, and about 60% of people went to the year 11 breakout room, and the rest went to the year 12 breakout room. So popped my head into those and wrote down those notes. So continued worried about how much work was in that year 11 course, being able to cover it, the speed that you're going to have to move, and whether you're going to be able to get the depth and the chance to really explore things much in that course. We continue to think about foundational award and what this year 11 curriculum meant for that. And I asked a couple of questions in there about some of the new stuff, like the fact that Trig is now explicitly talked about using the unit circle to understanding that as an explanation for what's going on with Trig. No one disliked it. And the same when I talked about the comparison test, paired comparison testing that was in the stats area. People were fine with it. It's just the amount of stuff. It means we're not going to be able to give a lot of attention to every one of those things very well. When I put myself into the level 2, the year 12 courses, people are worried about what pathways our year 12s are going to have in a few years' time. It doesn't feel like we're going to be able to retain kids in maths in year 12 as well as we can now with NCA. Just wrote down that conclusion there. It's good that we've got so many teachers who are concerned about this, and they're concerned for the right reasons. They're worried about the students. They're worried about the students staying in maths, the students being successful in maths. There's people who are wanting the best out of this curriculum, and that's the important thing. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully you found something useful out of that. Please do think about giving your feedback, and all the best.